Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome to the May reading wrap up. I can't believe we are already here at the end of May. I have a lot of books that I read during this month. This was a pretty average reading month for me. I think I got around 7 or 8 books done in this month, and I feel like four of them were for a video. The other ones are a little bit more just for, well, the other ones were for videos too that you'll see coming up soon, but it was a good month overall. So I'm excited to talk to you about the books that I have been reading today, and we'll just kind of go ahead and get right on into it. So the first book that we read in the month of May was one book that I've never really read this genre of books before. This book is called A Shotgun Johnny Western Shadow of a Dead Man. This is by William W. Johnstone and J.A. Johnstone. I think they might be a husband-wife duo or a sibling duo. I'm not 100% sure. I actually got this book because my grandpa, he is a huge Western novel reader. He loves his Western books, and this is actually one of his books. I visited him recently and he said, here's a book, you can read it and bring it back and you can switch me out if you want. So he has so many Western books. I think I know where I get my book addiction from, probably from him. He's got so many of these, and overall I think I gave this book 3 stars. It was good. I think it was a fun Western novel to kind of dip my feet into. I will say that I think this is kind of a little bit more catered, a little bit more towards men. I'm not saying that books are necessarily catered towards one or the other, but for me it was a lot of action and not quite as much fun romance. There is a little bit of romance in here though, so it's kind of fun, but it's a good book, I would say overall. If you are somebody who's wanting to kind of dip your feet into the Western world, these 2 authors are huge, national best-selling Western authors. They are the authors to read when you're thinking about a Western novel. So I would suggest kind of going in with this. This is a series, but you don't need to read the series in order for you to understand what's going on, I don't think. So I was able to understand this one fine. I think this is the second one in the series, and there's, I don't know how many there are, but there's quite a few in this series. This book is about Shotgun Johnny. He is the main character, and he is kind of being chased for the murder of someone. Gosh, I can't remember his name. He kills a lot of people actually in this book, but all of the time he's killing them in self-defense to save himself and to save other people. And he gets kind of blamed for a murder for somebody that he actually did not kill, and that family comes chasing after him, and they actually hire a hitman to come and try to kill him, and he has to kind of save himself. He's also got this little girlfriend who runs the bank. He basically tries to break up with her in a really rude way so that way she doesn't come running after him, because he's trying to save her, because he doesn't want her to get hurt, because his family, his wife and his son, were killed because mob came after him and his family was there and they were shot. So kind of a little bit of a crazy book, but overall I would say pretty good. Again, I gave it 3 stars, and on Goodreads it's actually got a 4.49 star rating, so quite a high rating for the Western lover out there. 100% recommend. And yeah, we'll see if I continue reading more of these in the future. I think it'd be fun to read more, but maybe get ones that are a little bit more girly. I don't know. The next book we read, I don't actually have it with me because I got it from the library, but it is The Underground Library by Jennifer Ryan. I also rated this book 3 stars on Goodreads, and it has a 4.16 star rating on Goodreads overall. This book was actually quite good. In my defense, I think I'm just somebody who's a little bit picky when it comes to rating books, but I thought this book was still really good. It's a historical fiction book based around the time World War II is kind of starting to happen, and you follow a young woman. I think her name is, it follows a woman named Juliet, who's actually the librarian for this town in London. It's kind of like a military-esque style position, but she is there to help the library, and she is assigned to go to the specific one, which is far away from her family, and her fiance has quote-unquote died in battle, and so she is a little worried that, you know, she's gonna kind of just be left alone for the rest of her life. She makes some great friends there. It also follows some other people as well. It follows a young woman who is Jewish in Germany, and she escapes, and she is living as basically an indentured servant for this man who's quite abusive, and so you follow her story as she tries to escape that situation, and she meets Juliet, and just a couple other different cute little stories kind of fall into that, as they are just trying to survive and fight for their lives as this insane war is starting to happen around them, and as their town slowly starts to get more and more involved in the war, is they're getting bombed and things like that. So quite an interesting book. I really did like it. I do think if you are a historical fiction person that you would enjoy this book greatly. It wasn't a book that necessarily I wanted to read all night long, which is why I think I gave it 3 stars instead of 4 or 5, but still absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing. I really did enjoy it, so I would recommend it if you're a historical fiction person, or if you're looking for a cute little romance story with historical fiction, because there is a little bit of romance in there and just some feel-good moments as well. So that's all, it's all packaged up nice and neat. I don't know why I just said that, but there's that. All right, moving on to the Uglies series. Now, I did an entire video where I read these books, so I'll link that down below. You guys can go ahead and watch that if you haven't already, but I'm gonna go through these a little bit more one by one. I don't think I really talked about my ratings in the video that I did, so you can get my true unfiltered thoughts. I found these books when I was thrifting, actually, which is really, really cool. I found them all for like $2 to $3, so I got them, I think total, all 4 of them for under $10. Like, that's such a great deal, because originally they were all like $10 each. Really can't beat that. And so when we started off with Uglies, I was so excited because this is such a nostalgic book and a nostalgic series for me personally. I just remember reading these when I was in middle school and high school, and I really, really, really liked them. And you know, being able to read them now as an adult and to kind of see my progression of reading as time has gone on, it's been really fun to kind of go back and reflect. But this book, Uglies by Scott Westerfield, I believe I rated this one 4 stars. This one was, I think, the highest rated book for me out of the entire series. I really just love how this book is set up. You follow Tally Youngblood, who, I think that's her, but I'm not positive. Tally Youngblood is living in a dystopian society that's like thousands and thousands of years in the future from our current time, but kind of on the same earth. And they are all about plastic surgery. And they classify you based off of like your age into how like pretty you are. So for example, so when you are like a teenager up until you turn 16, you are considered a little or an ugly. And uglies are kind of like the preteen stage. She is an ugly in this book, and she is so excited and so ready because once you turn 16, you kind of graduate into what's called Pretty Town, and you get this insane plastic surgery that just makes you look insanely beautiful, more beautiful than even like people like our day necessarily look, because they talk about how they find old school magazines like us and most people in there aren't pretty, which is kind of crazy. But what happens is she meets this girl who doesn't necessarily want to become pretty, and they're both the same age. They're both kind of just waiting until they turn 16. And so they kind of run off and find this society where people there don't turn pretty. You're just ugly for the rest of your life. Tally decides that she doesn't want to stay, or that she doesn't really want to go with the society, so she ends up staying behind while her friend goes to that society and starts her own little life there. And Tally actually ends up not being able to get the surgery because they are searching for that secret society. They kind of threaten Tally. They're saying, if you don't go and find your friend, we will not turn you pretty. And she is so brainwashed, because that's how you just are, you're just brainwashed. She decides to go, and she's gonna go betray her friend. And she's gonna go find what's called the Smoke, which is where the society lives, and she's going to turn them into the special forces and become pretty. That's what she wants. She ends up running into this, she ends up finding them, and actually ends up realizing that she likes the life that she is forming there. She falls in love, and this boy that she falls in love with, his parents are former doctors from the, you know, plastic surgery unit, and they say that they actually create lesions on your brains when you turn pretty to turn you into what they call a bubble head. This kind of makes you even more just susceptible to being controlled, essentially. And this group of people, they don't want to be controlled, they want to have their head fully clear. Anyway, she ends up accidentally turning them in by destroying a tracker on her that alerts the authorities to where she is, and she is forced to make a choice, I guess. She ends up trying to help fight for the ugly society called the Smoke, and ends up having to turn herself in to the special forces so that way she can save her friends back home by turning herself in. So that's where this book ends off. I don't know if I explained that very good, but it's just such a good book, and I really, really did enjoy it. And the second book is called Pretties. This follows Tally once she turns pretty, and she kind of creates a new little life in her new town until the people from the Smoke come and they slip her the pills that she needs to kind of help cure the brain lesions on her head. What she doesn't realize though is that she splits the pills with Zane, who I think is this guy right here, who's become her boyfriend in the new town, because a lot of her memories have been erased, so she doesn't quite remember anything that happened before. She splits the pills with him, and he actually ends up getting the terrible pill that essentially eats his brain away, and he kind of goes comatose, but they end up escaping Pretty Town. They go to find the new Smoke is what it's called, and he ends up getting so disabled that they can't move him when the special forces come to, because they're coming to destroy this new smoke area. They were able to find him. That she ends up staying behind with Zane because she loves him and she doesn't want him to be left alone. And because she ends up staying with Zane, the people that she meets in the first book, they aren't super prevalent in this one, but they don't necessarily feel betrayed, but they are a little wary of her, and they kind of, yeah, turn her in as well, and she becomes a special, which is part of the special forces. Which leads us to the third book, Specials. By the way, I rated Pretty's, I think 3 stars. What did I rate it? Yeah, I rated Pretty's 3 stars. This book, Specials, is where you pick up and she has become a special superhuman, essentially, and she starts following her friends from the Pretty's book who are trying to escape to the smoke. She doesn't necessarily want to help them, but she wants to just see what's going to happen, and she wants to protect them because she still loves Zane, even though he still is a little bit brain dead. They have started to help regenerate his mind a little bit, but it's just really, really interesting, this book, because she finally meets her love interest that she had in the first book as well. I rated this book 4 stars too. So this is kind of where the book series, the first original trilogy, ends. They end up finding a new town called Diego where everyone there is cured, but they can have as much plastic surgery as they want, but they don't have the brain lesions anymore. The city tries to kill her because she is such an insane superhuman, and the other special forces have actually been caught here, and they've also been changed into a regular, non-superhuman, and they actually try to break her out so that way they can have at least one special person left in the world because they might need her in the future. And she ends up running away with David, who was her love interest in the first book, because her love interest, Zane, spoiler alert, he dies. And it's so sad, and she's devastated, but she ends up running off with David to help bring the world these pills and help just make the world a better place. So that's kind of where it ends, and it kind of ends a little bit on a cliffhanger because she says that she's gonna go off and they're not gonna probably see her for a while, but she's gonna help the world. And then the 4th book came out called Extras, and this one I did not like, unfortunately. I really, really wanted to like it. But it was just really hard for me. It was hard because it's from a completely different point of view. So it's from a point of view of a different town. What we would know today as Japan is where this is based in. And yeah, you just don't even know that it's even based in Japan until like halfway through when they talk about how they're talking in Japanese. Aya is the main girl in here, and you follow her story as she starts to break the news, like on the internet, that there are some really weird alien creatures that are tearing up all of the metal and they're like storing it in the mountains, which is like really, really odd. She gets a ping or a message from Tally Youngblood, who is the most famous person in the entire world, saying, "Stay where you are, we're coming for you." And the extraterrestrials, or these aliens, are trying to come and kidnap Aya, and they end up kidnapping her and Tally and a few other people. When they do that, they're able to actually understand what's happening is that these people are actually trying to just gather materials so that way they can go and live in outer space in the orbit, because they are worried that the Earth is becoming too overpopulated and they want to just kind of live in their own world and have their own, rules and laws and everything. So they're just going to do it outside of the Earth. So it was just kind of like weird and odd. Like it just didn't really make a ton of sense in terms of like the rest of the series. I do believe that it was kind of written as like not an afterthought, but it was originally supposed to be these 3. But then this one got included in it, and it's now not considered a trilogy anymore. It's the 4 of them all together, which I thought was just interesting because I didn't want to have this be the last book, because you don't have it from the view of the main character of the first 3 books at all. You have it from somebody else's completely different point of view. It's a completely different world at this point. It's been like 3 years since the last book ended, so it was just weird and not something that I quite enjoyed, but I still read it because I had to. It's part of the whole thing. So there's that series right there. Next up is a book that's also part of a series. It is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and this is the 2nd book, Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This book was so stinking good. I read this one in just a couple of days. I rated it 4 stars as well. So freaking good. I love the Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the first book as well. I think the first book I liked a little bit more. This one I wasn't like staying up all night to read again like I was with some of my other books, but I still like devoured it very, very quickly. In the first book, you follow a girl named Pip, who is, for one of her projects, looking into a murder case for one of her high school projects, and she ends up solving it and finding out the police kind of did a bad job of like searching everything, and she's able to find the actual murderer, and she's able to put people behind bars, and it's this whole big thing, which is really exciting for her. But in this book, you kind of see a little bit of the ramifications of it. You see that she's not quite herself anymore. She you know, it just took a big toll on her. And when one of her really good friends' brothers goes missing, they ask her to kind of help take over the investigation because the police aren't doing anything about it, and she really doesn't want to because it nearly broke her the first time. However, they beg and they beg and they beg, and she decides that she's gonna go and look into the case and see if she can do anything to help save, you know, this family and try to find their missing son. Not quite as dramatic as the first one, but it was still fun because the whole time you're also trying to figure out like who did it. And so it kind of helps, like it's just kind of fun to like kind of go back and forth in that sense of like you're looking at what she's thinking, but then you also have like your ideas and your thoughts in your head. I kind of a little bit guessed it, a little bit, but it really did throw me for a full loop. So I will say that it was very, very interesting to read. Yeah, overall, really good, and I would definitely recommend this one. Now, finally, for the last book that we have for this month, I'm actually not completely finished reading it yet. However, today is May 28th that I'm filming this, and so I definitely have time to finish it before May is over, which I think I will because I'm already over 50% of the way through. And that is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I'm reading it on my Kindle, so here is the cover, and it's really good so far, you guys. Right now, it's looking like a 4-star read most likely, but what we have going on so far in this book, which, by the way, this book won so many awards last year. It was a New York Times bestselling book, bestselling author. It was the winner of the National Book Award. Like, this stuff, it's comes highly recommended. This book is about the Jewish and Black population living in a town, or I don't know if it's a town, but an area called Chicken Hill, I believe in like somewhere on the East Coast, potentially down south. Not 100% sure. But it's during the 1930s and 1920s, so like the KKK is still around. There's a lot of like issues with, well, not issues, but a lot of hate towards like immigrants and people of color, and it's just a really, really interesting read because you follow a couple of different people at a different time. Like you kind of follow like one person for a while, and she's introduced to a new character that you come to know and love, and then that new character is the person that you follow for the next little bit, and then they get interacted with another character, and then you kind of follow that other character for a little bit. So you kind of are introduced to a lot of different people. Where we are at right now is that one of the main characters, her name is Chona. She is dying because she had a seizure, and her adopted like foster son, he wasn't really adopted, but her foster child that she was taking care of, his name was Dodo. Dodo is deaf, and he saw the doctor who was, you know, there to kind of hopefully help this woman with her seizure. He was molesting her, and so he attacks the doctor, and he's like an 11, 12-year-old boy, like he's pretty young. He attacks the doctor, and he ends up getting taken into like a penitentiary / like insane asylum that is just, it's not where he needs to be. It's terrible. The conditions are terrible. He's not stupid. He's not dumb. He doesn't need to be in one of these, you know, insane asylums, but that's just where he is right now. And we're at the point where his uncle, who was kind of his guardian at the time, started drinking alcohol again and started getting drunk, and they decided that they were going to go and bust him out of this penitentiary. Not a penitentiary, but this place. They're going to bust him out. And that's where we've gotten so far in this book. It's kind of crazy. It seems like when you first read the first, I mean, we're 150-ish pages in, I guess, to the halfway point, and it just seems like, it didn't seem like it was going to get really violent or anything like that. I don't know if it will continue to get violent, but it's just a really interesting, it's really, really cool to see these like families and these communities really come together and love each other and be there for each other and support each other, especially through a crazy situation like this. I really do like this book. I think this book is going to really show a lot of love, a lot of community, a lot of solidarity, and kind of show how these two minority groups really worked together to have a happy life. So it's really, really interesting so far. Definitely have enjoyed it. I'm excited to keep on reading and see what we think at the very end. I hope I don't cry. I don't think I'm going to, but so far it's just been really good, and yeah, something I've really, really enjoyed reading so far. And I'm excited that I was finally able to get this because this has been on hold at the library for like months now. So I'm really happy to be reading it. Well, that is all the books that we have read for May, the May monthly wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to show you real quick my Kindle because I did get a new Kindle case. I think I showed this in one of my previous vlogs, but this is what it looks like. It's really cute. I got it from Amazon, and what I like about this case is that it has like a flap, so it turns your Kindle into sleep mode, but it also has a clear back, so that way you can have your fun little Kindle stickers in here, which I did recently revamp. I made this like a fun little summer theme. I have, you know, like a cute little rainbow. It's a good day to read a book. I have, you know, just fun little cute pink girly things that I think are fun but also represent me and just kind of help make the whole case pop a little bit. I'll link my stickers and the Kindle case in the description box below. You guys can purchase that. I'm not getting paid to say that, so I just wanted to show you because I just think it's kind of cute and kind of fun. So yeah, if you guys have made it this far, go ahead and put the turtle emoji in the comment section down below. I think that's kind of just a fun little random emoji to comment, but we can hang out in the comment section below and let me know what books you read this month, and I will see you all in my next video very, very soon.